Hello, welcome to Reaction Shots, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and, relatives.
Superhero
genre extraordinaire.
2018. Still going strong.
You look tan. Were you outside?
You did look a little tan.
Your face looks tan.
I was out. I was out in the sun.
I just go pink or red, so.
Yeah.
And then I, blister and burn and peel.
We're already off.
Hi.
This is Michael Huber, my
burn.
illustrious cohort.
Hello.
And this is our special guest for today, Drew Kraft.
Woo! Hi.
Drew and I went to college together.
Nice.
2 years ago.
A million years ago. Drew is a comedian, very funny, huge Marvel fan.
Huge nerd, yes. X-Men's my drug
X-Men,
of choice.
Yeah. Currently wearing a Wolverine going through the metal detector t-shirt, Wolverine socks, and has an X-Men tattoo.
I do.
Just the one, though.
Just one. I'm very civilized about my
step it
X-Men
up.
tattoos. I only have one. So that being said, it's also the only tattoo I have. So that stresses to you how much I actually love the X-Men.
Is there anything else you want people to know about you, or should we just go forward?
Can I plug my show?
Plug your show.
Plug it all.
I run a variety show called Ugly Stepchildren. It's at West Side Comedy Theater. It's the first Saturday of every month at 11:30 in Santa Monica, California. So if you are in that area, please come check it out. It's super fun.
It was. I was there for the most recent one. I've gone to a lot of them.
You have.
Most
You've
of
been one
them.
of the most frequent attendees.
I missed the two before this, or the one before the most recent. The most recent I loved. It was so good. I mean, they're always good, but the most recent one was like.
Yeah, we actually got a letter sent to the theater
Amazing.
from after the
Really?
show Saturday. Yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, they were like They think they said it was like well curated, that it was all the talent was good, and
Yeah.
what was
High
the
praise.
Oh, and then it was moved at a rapid pace.
Yeah. It did all those things.
Yeah,
All
so
those are true.
It's super fun. Only getting
Breakneck
better.
pace.
Breakneck speed.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do this episode at a breakneck speed
Excellent.
because the Marvel Cinematic Universe contains a lot of movies.
A lot
Yes.
of movies.
And
we can brush over
you know,
a lot of them.
yeah. And we also have
We
a
can, like,
lot
franchise
of
it.
comments from the patrons as well. I tried to get a little something from everyone in there, but if I miss you, know that I love you and everything's fine. But what I do like to begin with first is a little segment called What Have You Liked Recently, which is not related to the theme. I spring it on you in the
Mine
last minute.
is.
Don't
Okay.
tell you about it
Like
beforehand.
a movie.
Movie, show, whatever that you've liked recently.
I just saw, which we talked about briefly, but I loved A Quiet Place.
Oh,
Nice.
A Quiet Place was like, it was one of those movies that you're like, oh, this is like why we go to the movies.
Yes.
Like if I saw it when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, I want to like get into this because it makes you feel everything and it shows you like the value of like your voice and the eeriness of noise, and it was so well done, and you're just like, you watching like, man, like I told my friend who I saw afterwards, I was like, man, I'm really proud of John Krasinski. I'm like, I don't know him. Like I have no, like I'm not even like a huge fan of like when he's done this. I have no stake in John Krasinski. I'm like, but it's like, man, like Jim from The Office just like made an amazing film. Like he made like a film.
Write him a letter.
So I was just like, that's awesome. Like I'm all excited. Now I am a fan. But
Yeah.
it was super fun.
when I saw the trailer, I kind of wrote it off. I was like, Jim, what are you doing?
Emily
You
Blunt,
know?
though.
Emily Blunt,
Best
his
of biz.
wife
Yeah, his
in real
wife,
life.
yeah.
He's like so cute about her too. Like he's always
Yeah.
just
He's
so
like, why did she
gaga.
do this movie?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
how he advertised it? You're like,
Really?
Yeah. He
Why
was like,
did she do this?
he was like, I didn't think she was gonna do this movie, and she said yes, and then we were like both terrified to like work together.
Oh yeah, it's always a step.
Yeah.
Anything else you've seen that you like? I'm too afraid to watch that movie.
That was my only complaint. I loved it.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't scared, and I went in with the expectation of being scared, so that was on me. That was my fault. Anticipating
I
being
just don't like
freaked
jump
out.
scares. As you
There's a
know.
couple jump scares.
Did you not see it the like first weekend?
Saw it straight away.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Really
wow, okay.
good theater
He
that
he's a
respected
big
it.
horror. He
Yeah.
likes
love thriving on
Yeah.
the audience of a horror movie.
Oh, I love that.
love
See,
going just for that.
I hadn't had the experience of like grabbing onto my neighbor or like I like never ever do that, and I did that with this film. The last movie I probably did that for was Jurassic World, but that was a different story / experience.
You were like, get me out of here.
No, I loved it. I had look, if I I guess this is, I mean, whatever if it's being recorded, but I did a tweet afterwards, which is why I don't know why I care, but I said, if everyone saw Jurassic World as high as I did, the world would be a better place. I laughed.
That's the
I
trick.
cried.
Yeah.
I hit my neighbor. I was cheering. I was at church. I mean, I was out of my body, just living in the moment, and it was the best time I've had at a movie.
I mean, you
probably
might be-
until A Quiet Place, where I had the same experience. Yeah, I think I was high for that too, but not as high. I was like wasted for Jurassic World, but in like the best way possible. And I'm scared for the sequel because I'm like, I don't think it can live up to the possible like out of body experience that I had with the first one.
Hoag law disclaimer: we live in California.
Yeah.
Anyway, Huber, have you seen anything that you've liked recently?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh
yeah.
I
can't
saw this. I don't think it's spoilers, but I saw an article that just said Agents of the Shield is totally gonna do the thing. Like tie it in with the movies, you know, in a big way, apparently. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of have to. I can't really go into anything because there's so many spoilers, and I know a lot of people now. I know a lot of people now though have want to catch up in S.H.I.E.L.D. You know, it's never too late to catch up, especially before Avengers 4. I really think there's no better time because now Coulson is coming back into the movies with Captain Marvel. S.H.I.E.L.D. has just gotten better and better and better and better every season.
That's
now is the time.
But I was the person who like gave up on it.
A lot of people did because the first half of season 1 is not good.
Yeah.
And then Winter Soldier goes down.
I just don't.
And
so
that's the turning point.
I enjoy Phil Coulson from the movies. I'm a huge Marvel nerd. Gave the show a chance, but I didn't feel invested in any of the characters.
You will. I
And
promise
so I
you.
just kind of like
I promise you, I'm not even trolling right now. It's my favorite characters on TV. It's like a family.
Nice.
It is unreal. Like the vibes. The reason I'm so obsessed with S.H.I.E.L.D. is not because it's the greatest show ever made, but because the people behind it are the most passionate about making it, and it just shines through every episode. Every episode, they're just having fun.
Yeah.
And it's just good vibes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen some episodes. I saw some Winter Soldier episodes, which were better.
Yeah.
And then I've seen some random episodes that were enjoyable, but I wasn't fully
committed.
To know what was going on.
Yeah, totally.
I will say I did watch all of Inhumans.
Oh my god!
God!
You quit S.H.I.E.L.D. and watched all
I know.
of Humans?
Okay, all right. Calm down, people.
I couldn't finish the pilot.
I saw the pilot.
I finished it by force.
I saw the pilot in theaters. Granted, I didn't know anything about it though. I just went and saw it in theater. I am that fanboy who thinks Lockjaw is just like the cutest thing ever, and like almost like the show just because of the dog.
He's good.
I know it's sad, but it's true. Guilty.
But he was barely in it. Oh, that show.
And I'm invested in Inhumans. Like I like the characters from the comics, so I gave it more of a chance than S.H.I.E.L.D.
Dude, S.H.I.E.L.D.
because they're not characters in the comics. Yeah.
Season 2.
Yeah.
Inhumans. All about it.
Yeah.
No spoilers. Check it out.
I've heard that. Yeah. And I've seen some of that as well. But I was like, ooh, it's the royal family. But they're like, I don't know. We don't need to get into that. That's a movie, not a podcast of us just rambling about it.
100 other
We'll do that episode next.
100 other shows I'm watching too, but we do not have time.
We don't have time.
There's so many right now.
I want to shout out maybe a first for this show, a music video. This Is America by Childish Gambino, a.k.a. Donald Glover. What?
That song?
No, it just came out.
This one goes, This Is America. And then some rapping.
Okay,
Childish
cool.
Gambino.
Childish Gambino.
I don't know.
This music video is amazing.
Okay, I'm going to watch it immediately.
I'm tempted to
Dude,
have
Atlanta
do a
is a 10 out of
reaction
10.
right now.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Atlanta yet. I
haven't
want
either.
to. I want to.
I've
Apparently
heard
it's
great
amazing.
things.
Yeah,
It's really
I need
good.
to watch it.
Okay.
I love Childish Gambino.
No spoilers.
I love Donald Glover. He's firing on all cylinders right now. But anyway, best music video I've seen in a long time. So good.
I got to watch it.
Yeah.
I've seen a music video like that was like the most. I don't follow music videos.
No,
often,
yeah.
so I'm
I
not
watch
sure.
a lot of them actually, but I liked the Make Me Feel one, the Janelle Monáe one. And,
that's
and
great.
Django
That's actually
Jane that
probably
she put out at the same day.
Made Me Feel was great.
Yeah. So
I love her. She's so great. She's so
Yeah.
like stylish and
She's
cool,
great.
and she makes great music.
She's great. I want to quickly mention I watched Anon on Netflix. Awful.
Oh, I saw the advertisement for this on the internet. I immediately looked it up and I saw like everyone's like, no, stay away, stay away.
Oh,
but I was
no.
like, oh, this looks cool.
It was one of those nights where like it started auto playing on Netflix, the little trailer.
Yeah.
And I was like, Clive Owen, sure.
Yeah.
And we just like hit play.
Precogs, right, or something kind of.
No, not kind of. It's yeah, sort of. Everything is so surveilled and recorded that like the police just like know what's up. Did you go to sleep, computer? What's the deal?
It's watching Anon.
It's it's a terrible, terrible movie.
Netflix heard you and has now hacked your computer and
like things happen for no real reason. It doesn't really hold together. It's not entertaining.
So stay
Don't
away.
bother.
And I really wanted to watch, because I love Moon, I really wanted to watch Mute.
I have not watched Mute yet. I want to.
Bad things, and it just kills the hype.
I like Duncan Jones. I mean, like I like Moon so much.
Yeah.
Like how you are with the Inhumans comics, like carrying you through. I like Moon so much that Duncan Jones always just has like sort of a pass for me. I'm just like, okay, it's Duncan Jones, it's Bowie's son, like whatever. Source Code's like fine.
Loved Warcraft.
I never saw Warcraft.
We saw it like as some of the allies.
Oh
with,
yeah,
Ben
that's right.
and stuff.
You went, yeah.
We had a good time.
I also did I showed some friends of mine a re-edit of Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets
right.
that I
need
did.
to watch that you did.
The re-edit?
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
watch your re-edit.
Of the copy that my own private usage, I made a re-edit.
Not distributing.
I'm not distributing.
Cut.
Don't ask me for it. I'm not going to give it to you.
You won't get it.
The most I'll do
However,
is
if you pay
maybe
me some money, I can try and get it and send it to you.
The most I might do is like put out the EDL or whatever. But like, I took 26 minutes out of Valerian, and I think it's like a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes now. Up from whatever,
from a 20 or something.
Yeah. Or I don't even know.
The beginning opening montage is actually
great
a
stuff.
10.
Yeah.
So you just put
but
that out
anyway,
there.
I don't know why I brought that up. I forgot. Oh, because Clive Owen's in that. And that's
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's one of those movies where, I mean, that's why I did a re-edit on it, is like, man, this could have been something. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll make an episode about my re-edit. I don't know. Whatever.
Valerian?
I should. Yeah.
Could have been something.
Could have been something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nerd Writer did an episode about re-editing Passengers, and he didn't go to jail, so yeah, maybe I could do whatever. Anyways, let's get into the meat and potatoes.
Let's do it.
Disclaimer before we begin. This is not a spoiler cast, not spoiler mode. We have a show called Spoiler Mode wherein we did discuss Infinity War, and it's exclusive to our patrons. So if you want to hear us talk about that, join us up on patreon.com/easyallies for $1 or more. Doing a sales pitch in the beginning of the show.
Or if you want to see me talk about it for free, check out Hubris Syndrome. I did an episode on it.
Because
I wasn't
undercutting our sell there.
I know. I wasn't on the podcast. I felt left out.
That's true. But all of that said, we're going to try our best to not spoil Infinity War.
Yes.
The other movies...
Should I do my Infinity War joke that I did this weekend?
We should put a disclaimer at the top, though, honestly.
I don't remember
what it is.
I remember that it... Go for it.
It talks about spoilers. So
I feel like we already kind of spoiled it in the beginning. Like, just put something in the top.
I don't want to I don't want to be the guy who gives away spoilers for Infinity War. However, I can tell you that the ending of the movie was me going home and looking up shirtless pictures of Chris Hemsworth.
Good ending.
I don't want to spoil anything, but that's how it ends.
It's a good ending.
It was a great ending.
Happy
very happy ending.
Happy movie.
Very happy ending.
But anyway, we'll try not to spoil Infinity War, and if we think we might, we'll like wave our arms or scream or whatever. But we're mostly talking about the MCU. Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Love the MCU.
But, obviously, like, X-Men is on the table.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Logan.
Any of that. But
Getting me hot and bothered.
Just just for fun, here's the MCU. Phase 1, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America the First Avenger, Marvel's First Avengers. Phase 2, Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man. Phase 3, Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War. Films we know about in the future, but we aren't really, whatever. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Untitled Avengers film, which is Avengers 4, Untitled Spider-Man Homecoming sequel, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Confirmed films.
Confirmed.
That's the MCU. As we know it.
As we know it.
And then there's X-Men, X2.
X-Men, which is
like X-Men 3.
It just, like... Infinity War was so awesome, and just you like the MCU in general, obviously the whole timeline, even if there are inconsistencies throughout, because you look at something like X-Men, which is all messed up. Who knows what that timeline even is?
Yeah.
Because the groundwork wasn't laid for something like this, you know? This big effort to tie it all together. So I just think that's something that's worth praising and celebrating.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought I loved Days of Futures Past. I think it's the best of the X-Men films.
Yes.
It was. I actually, to bring back to my tattoo, I got my tattoo the day that movie came out, and it's something I wanted for a really long time. And I was like, I want to like have it coordinate with.
I think
like,
did we see that movie together?
We probably
did.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah.
And I got it done, but it was funny because I got it done in the morning though before I saw the movie. So like there was a good chance that like I could have been like tattooed like when I saw like X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
You know, like that could technically could have happened.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. I didn't think it was going to happen.
Because First Class
so
was
I risked
so
it.
rad.
First Class was great. Days of Future Past, though, I just felt like it was a film. It was like beyond a superhero story.
Yeah.
It really incorporates the metaphor. I think it had a diverse or it had an ensemble cast where they're usually like Wolverine and friends.
Yeah.
So I really loved that.
I really respect any superhero movie that manages to have stakes and make me as a viewer feel threatened for the heroes, feel like something terrible is going to happen, feel like they're vulnerable or they're going to die or that they can lose and fail.
Right.
Future Past, that opening scene.
Yeah.
Well, and what was the brilliance of that is I would almost say it's better than the comic. Don't hate me, anyone. Just because there was a production value of this, as well as we didn't really know where the franchise was going. So like the stakes feel higher because there wasn't a roadmap laid out. Mm-hmm. So we knew there was probably something happening, but we didn't know, is it with the old cast? Is it with the new cast? Are they completely rebooting? That being said, I felt like they probably should have just completely they should have waited a few years and then started all over and then done it Marvel style with a roadmap. And that way we actually get, I mean, the biggest problem with the films is they're not using the characters that we really want. I mean, Storm is amazing and like should be focused so much more.
Like, give me that.
Exactly.
The fact that Rogue never got to be Rogue and then like they like took her powers away or whatever.
Like the lowest hanging fruit of all time. When are we going to get a legitimate Gambit?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When is that happening?
Yeah.
Like, is Channing Tatum still doing that?
It's still supposed to be rumored, but I don't really think he's good casting for it, to be honest.
I
like
love
Channing
Tatum.
I like Channing.
Good vibes, dude.
But he doesn't feel like Gambit to me. He's also like Gambit to me is not as muscular as that. Like he's like Colossus
He's
build,
more
not
like wiry. Yeah.
He's a little like scrawnier but toned. So like I don't know.
Who would be a good Gambit?
I mean, honestly, the guy in Wolverine Origins was
Taylor Kitsch.
Yeah, he was fine for what it was, and he looked the part. But
bad movie. He did his best.
Exactly. Like, you know, I can't. He's like the least of the problems of that film. I'm not going to nitpick him out of everything in that film.
Yeah. Someone who can do the Cajun accent, like you have to.
I mean, that's also
it's a weird one. Tough.
Taylor Kitsch is cool. He was the best part of that movie. And he was the best part of
I saw that one.
Season 2 True Detective.
That's like one of the few I haven't seen.
I actually saw that in Chicago.
We do not discuss season 2
Taylor
True
Kitsch
Detective.
was the little bright light.
True Detective season 2 is a blight on humanity.
It's so bad.
It is one of the worst things I have ever seen in my entire life.
It's real bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. That's something we all can agree on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awful.
But Taylor Kitsch was cool.
Sure.
That tunnel at the end, it was so
I don't have any memory of a tunnel. Whatever.
There's the double cross. Drop all the spoilers because no one cares.
We're saving you the time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Spoiler alert, that ends with me going home and crying for watching it.
Crying at shirtless pictures of Taylor Kitsch.
yeah, exactly. Why wasn't this better? Okay, you're still attractive.
Anyway.
We'll get through it.
Is there hope for the X-Men timeline?
I mean, if Marvel acquires the rights.
Which is going back and forth, and then how long will it be when they actually come in?
Right.
And they're in this weird place where they've established so much of Marvel now that how have mutants not been discovered in this world?
Well,
and like, how can they do? I mean, this is another element of dating something, but like Magneto's a Holocaust survivor,
right?
So like
the window on that is closing.
The window on that's closing. I mean, and they can certainly revamp it. I just don't know what they would do that would be as powerful.
I mean, like. Not a spoiler, but like Doctor Strange has access to like the metaverse and like time and like all that.
They could do something like that.
You could do a thing where like the Earth that
They could do House of M and wish them into existence. I mean,
oh sure, or like
doing Scarlet Witch to just do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, or like just they come from a different reality of Earth where like it was the X-Men instead of the Avengers.
See, that's
whatever.
what I think. Well, I'll get into this
Comic
later.
books go all over the place.
But I think that's why what happens next.
Right.
After the Avengers Infinity War is actually will be what kind of defines how this superhero kind of, I guess, franchise and it being as mass produced and mass popular and mainstream will go, because I think it's something that nerds are embrace and love, and it's part of our everyday life and what we read and do. But it's not for the mainstream. They want the logic. And when something is just completely illogical, you're kind of like, okay, well, you really need to write something really good.
That was my thought process. Like, again, not getting specific, but I think it's no secret that Infinity War took some chances, and I was reading all the like different theories of like how they could possibly do the next movie and like whatever. And my main thought was like, how are the billions of dollars worth of audience goers going to swallow any of these ideas?
Yeah.
Because like all the theories based on the comic books are like, that's pretty out there. Like, how do you explain that in a movie that isn't like weird and boring?
I mean, even like, Spider-Man gets his powers from a radioactive spider, which is like still a stretch, but it's just like, it's simple enough that we're like, okay, I'll go with it because I don't have to think too hard about it.
That we can buy.
But if you actually have to think hard about it, they're like, I'm not invested in this to want to think. I'm here to like popcorn and like watch.
Well, they've done
action.
such a good job with like the weapons technology. I always bring this up, just like the weapons tech. So like low-level street thugs have like Spider-Man Homecoming did such a good job of it with that technology. So by having that at the ground level, it makes like the relation of just low-level thugs with superpowered people. It just like balances
that's a good point too, because I mentioned this in a different thing, maybe that spoiler cast, but like there's a cool part in Black Panther where some kids on the street think a ship is an alien ship, and they refer to the alien by name. So like, this is a reality where people just accept like, okay, there are aliens. Okay, there are people with crazy powers. Okay, there's like crazy tech, and now Wakanda tech is going to be like whatever, and it's just like. Yeah, so the baseline of reality for the Marvel Universe is very heightened in comparison to our own.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they present it in a realistic way, like
Avengers 1 is like such a critical moment for everything, because like the Marvel shorts, Spider-Man Homecoming, S.H.I.E.L.D., dealing with the fallout of all those like weapons and everything like going into other people's hands. So I think that's cool, because it's like, all right, there's been an alien invasion, like we know that there's crazy.
Do we know if S.H.I.E.L.D.'s been renewed for another season?
We
don't know yet.
They said there's 2 more episodes this season. They said that the finale can serve as a series finale.
Okay,
but they might get picked up for one more season. Because the
Disney, is the 5th season, the current one?
This is 5. Okay. The Disney streaming service goes live, I think, this year.
Oh, okay.
So if they had their final season launch on that with some Marvel movies and everything, I think it'd be smart.
Well, and like given the timing of how season arcs and stuff work,
goes into
they would
Avengers
have
4.
They would have half of a season, and if I'm not mistaken, they'd have like half of a season of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 6, and then Marvel or Avengers 4 would happen. So I think
it'd be like near the end.
That would actually, to me, be a really cool thing, because I would like to see things take place in this reality and then cap off with the movie. Like, it could be neat. I don't know. It's a unique situation.
The tie-in was subtle, but cool.
I read a whole article about how the TV shows have been like very, very tenuously connected to the MCU.
Like, as someone who's seen all the Netflix and S.H.I.E.L.D., all of it, like the Netflix references, they do reference, like,
but
even
it's like
Jessica
hilarious.
Jones.
They say like the green guy.
Yeah, and like Jessica Jones season 2, which was like the newest one, directly calls out the raft, which like Cap and everyone is like prisoner in.
Yeah.
So like they acknowledge it, but it still feels so disconnected from the MCU, whereas S.H.I.E.L.D. feels like a part of it way more.
Yeah.
But
that's what I loved about Homecoming is like realist. I mean, we're gonna talk about realistic and likable villains a lot probably today, but dealing with that technology and like the fallout of previous events, that's one of my favorite things about this kind of universe building, and that's what I think that Marvel, I think now more so than they used to, is just excelling at, like
Well,
making these things exist together.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, I mean, Marvel has, and this is sort of an answer to stuff later, but Marvel is like serialized filmmaking in a way that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
And they've also, as a fan of the comics, I feel like the films are different in the sense that like the product is actually just the Marvel universe. It's not Iron Man. This is the next chapter of Marvel.
Yeah. Right.
This is the next chapter of Marvel. Yep. So you actually are invested in the universe as opposed, and you can kind of still look at it from a character perspective. You're like, I only like Iron Man. I only go to the Iron Man movies. You can do that, but then you're still able to like, it really is, at least it feels like as a moviegoer, you know, it's like, oh, the next Marvel movie is out, we have to go. And there's not really a studio, like maybe Pixar, but that's even more of a niche genre than even Marvel. So it's
a commenter, patron Alexander Zirinov had a point about this, basically saying he thinks it's a mistake to interlock them so heavily because it then becomes inaccessible for people who aren't caught up.
Good. I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah,
Perfectly.
like what I wanted to hear what you think about that, because it's a cogent point.
Perfect.
Like it's hard to jump in on Infinity War if
Yep.
you've seen none of these other movies for 20 years.
Totally, because I just
10
rewatched Thor with Beth, and she is like
Thor 1?
Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, Ragnarok.
And she's
the good one.
Sporadically seen the MCU. She's like seen most of it, but like here and there, not like cohesively. And she just like, I was laughing nonstop, and at the end she's like, yeah, I just didn't like get any of it, because that whole movie is built upon what has happened previously with Thor, with Loki,
and I would say,
with Odin. Like,
I would say Ragnarok is one of the ones that's more immediately. I haven't seen any of the Thor movies, but just like contextually from the other ones, I was able to be like, okay, Odin,
with, like,
whatever.
Banner and everything. There's so
But
much that you need to bring into it. It is pretty crazy, because I think it's ending after Avengers 4. I don't really see it as a problem now.
Starting as a new.
But the thing is, where do we go from here? Because, and I think that's why we're actually at one of the most crucial stages of Marvel film evolution.
Yeah.
Is okay, like.
It's kind of a make or break.
Well, we built to Avengers, and I feel like part of the problem with these Marvel films is they become a little bit formulaic, and they all have very kind of similar tones. But they build, and we know they were building to something and building to something. And so now we have this giant something, but then where do they go from here?
You end it.
But they're not going to end it because it's making money.
Yeah.
Well,
so I mean, they can.
There is a phase 4. We just don't know what's.
So
on
I mean,
it.
they can do something where they do new Avengers, which is what I think will end up happening. And Black Panther and Captain Marvel and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange will be the Avengers, and then maybe like Black Widow and Hawkeye will be the Avengers, and then they'll kind of go that route.
Crossover. Yeah. That seems like what they've kind of been setting up War Machine and Falcon.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I think all the B
Bucky.
characters who haven't been around as long will not be around, but they're going to start retiring. At least Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. Hulk's kind of in a weird gray area because they haven't really overused him
gray
yet.
Area.
Nice.
Not a spoiler. I'm just.
It's not a spoiler at all. But.
I hope that Gray Hulk shows up someday.
When I say ending, I mean like this.
It's
like New 52 or something. It's like rebuilding.
But the thing
on
is
itself.
again, but.
They're not going to
New 52 is
No.
New 52 is a comic production that again comic fans will support, but will a film audience support that for film?
Right.
And I don't think they will.
I think that a film audience would get confused by that style of like, this is a new iteration.
Soft
like
reboot.
It'll be the new guard going in.
Right. And so they'll have like, I still think like Robert Downey Jr. will be back, or whoever will be back, being these characters and like coming back and forth and saying like, hi, here's my appearance as a little cameo, just to like acknowledge the fact that I existed in this world before.
On a phone call,
But I mean, I think as they build to the next one, what they really need to do is like, I want to see Jessica Jones and Daredevil and Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I want to see them in the next big Avengers movie.
I wish. Is that ever gonna happen? It really feels.
I mean, the thing is I feel like. I mean, let's say like Avengers.
They're just in Hell's Kitchen and they don't go out of Hell's Kitchen.
No.
I mean, let's say Avengers 5 is titled like New Avengers, which I mean, Luke Cage is one of the members of in the book at least when they do a book story of it. But I mean, then if they're doing another kind of like trilogy buildup, I mean, if this is another 10 years down the line that we're talking, then we're gonna see Jessica Jones in 10 years. We're going to see Luke Cage. Like, that's why it's like, I don't know where they're going to go with this. Where they can really incorporate it
To me, it would be a big a big moment if in one of these movies suddenly Luke Cage shows up.
Yeah.
And
I read an
I mean, can you
interview-
think like Black Panther and Luke Cage like fighting next to each other? That would be rad. Or
Yeah,
like
for
Jessica
sure.
Jones shows up and like Black Widow and like
yeah.
whoever. Like,
Well, I mean, Daredevil and Black Widow have a history in the comic too, so like
Oh,
that would be
okay,
another
yeah.
great
Yeah.
kind of thing to do. I don't know, like
I anticipate just like a helicarrier coming up and like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is
Coulson
just like,
and
yeah.
like
"Oh,
Jessica Jones.
well, I did.
Get on the
Yeah.
chopper.
Well,
yeah, like that's all we need. That's all we need.
They almost put that in Infinity War. Actually, I read an interview with the director since they like considered putting, I don't know which TV characters, but some of the TV characters
Really?
in the movie as but as a straight up like cameo, as like
Oh,
nothing
yeah,
more
yeah.
than like a get in this building as like go fight whatever or
Right.
something. And
It's like
Alright,
someone's
four
buying
now.
coffee in the background.
yeah, exactly.
Jessica Jones like no.
It's like Jessica
milk.
Jones. Jessica Jones just like
I
drinking
said
on the
soy!
street.
Breaks
Dude,
the
Jessica
table.
Jones is the best.
I haven't
It-
seen
she
season
is
2.
You
the
should
best.
watch
I
it
haven't
just
watched
because she's the best.
I
She's
got-
the best. She's so. I mean, I think her casting to me is as good as Robert
she's
Downey Jr.
The
casting
perfect
as Iron Man.
casting. Oh yeah.
And I think
What's
Ian,
her
watch
name?
season 2.
Ritter?
Kristen Ritter.
Kristen Ritter.
Please watch
Um,
season 2.
All right.
But I as a comic fan, I feel like she's probably one of the most important characters invented in the past 20 years. I don't know how long she's, but like there hasn't really been a character at Marvel that has really propelled since like the 90s of like Punisher, I guess. I don't, that's like really, really taken off. And she had a slow start, but I mean, she's kind of the counter to the superhero, but
Right.
still like she doesn't want to be a superhero, but she has these powers. And I find that fascinating.
yeah, that's interesting.
She's like, I got to work my own shit out before I can like help other people.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Like,
Did you see season 2?
I haven't finished it yet.
Okay. Oh my god.
But
I just find the pacing on those Netflix
They're
shows
too
are
long.
just so hard to get through.
they're all
Very
too long.
First
season
but
for me was fine.
I promise.
First season of
2 is
Jessica
good.
Jones was I liked. Daredevil dragged so hard for
Yeah.
me. Luke Cage dragged like crazy. I never
all
even bothered
dragging.
with Iron Fist.
It all drags.
I didn't bother with Iron Fist either.
Yeah.
I watched Defenders, which was okay.
I watched like one episode of Defenders.
Jessica
and I
Jones
like,
was
oh
the best
my
part of
God.
Defenders, though.
Yep.
Like, she
And I
really is
loved-
just like the shining.
Punisher is underrated. It's
I haven't
really
watched that
good.
yet. I've heard
it's
that's good,
actually
though.
really good.
Yeah.
Just like a taut thriller,
Okay.
you know, like a political thriller vibes. It's like something
Yeah.
something our dads would watch.
Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a simple dumb question. What's your favorite film in the MCU? MCU.
Not counting
Strictly.
Infinity War, because right
Sure.
now I'm like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
one
We're
is
all riding high on Infinity War.
Winter Soldier, hands down.
Okay.
I loved Infinity War, but I wouldn't say. I feel like it met expectations, and
Yeah.
that's all that it did for me.
It surprised in that it was good
to
for me.
even
Yeah.
to even match your expectations. Think about the
No, it's
build up.
It's
Yeah.
but to me,
Crazy
but
that it worked.
it's still a very much like superhero story though. Like Winter Soldier,
Right.
there's more to it. Black Panther, there's more to it. I think those are two of my favorites. But I'm a big Guardians of the Galaxy guy.
Totally.
Because they took these characters that like no one cared about and like were barely developed, which is also kind of why it works.
Yeah.
And I love Outcast coming together, and I love it's like funny. I love Chris Pratt. I mean, after watching Infinity War, I saw it a second time, and the first thing I say was like, Drax is so funny.
He's funny.
Drax is like I
So
can't, and I'm
funny.
shocked how funny I think he is.
Yeah.
Because he shouldn't be funny.
Just the simple
But he's
bit
the
of not understanding metaphor is like it's just
Is
an endless
amazing.
It'll work
font of
forever.
comedy. Yeah, it's
Like-
it's really funny to me.
Oh my god, yeah, he's so funny. So I mean, those are probably like my favorite. But Guardians is
And the Rocket Groot.
Rocket Groot. Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Good. I enjoy Mantis too. She's
Yeah, I like
Just-
it.
yeah.
and
Guardians
she compliments
1,
Drax well.
I really like Guardians 1. I didn't like Guardians 2 really. I don't know.
I like them both. I mean, I think Guardians 1 was more impressive.
Yeah.
As like a film, but again, it's this element of and we have this problem with superhero films. I think in particular, it's like there's a formula, and once we figure out the formula,
Right.
it's not that it's bad now. It just means that we're not surprised anymore. And being surprised is actually a really great experience when you're in any art form.
Yeah.
When you're like, wow, this is
That's why Infinity War is so badass. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, you know, the villain is the main character on a hero's journey. and
yeah,
it's-
yeah. They certainly made Thanos more interesting than I thought they were going to.
Yeah, he exceeded all my expectations.
Because what I've read from him in the book, he's not interesting.
Yeah, and everyone was so worried going in because it's like, who is this inept villain you've been teasing for 10 years that's just like hanging out in the shadows, you do this. It's like, do something, man.
Yeah. Making me care about Thanos
at all
was like the biggest achievement that Marvel maybe has ever done.
Brolin crushed it.
I mean, at the end
voice
of...
acting, so good.
Yeah. At the end of the first Avengers, when you see him for the first time, I remember I had to explain to everyone forever that was not Apocalypse. Everyone thought it was Apocalypse from X-Men. And I was like, no,
or
it's not.
Who did I accidentally say the other day?
Darkseid.
Or Galactus?
Galactus
the one who's
Silver
Surfer.
Galactus.
Galactus, yeah. I was like, oh, but that's the other thing. I actually had a question in here about, like, do we think Marvel will be able to continue surprising us? Volker Bosch, maybe. I can never remember how to say your last name. He said that Infinity War has shown us how to keep the surprise going. Because, I think all of us had a little bit of fatigue, but this kind of, this kind of change and the guts to kind of go there. Again, like trying not to spoil it really, but will that become the new status quo? I guess is my question. Is like, can they keep shocking us? Is there a way? Well, I mean, obviously comic books are still around.
I think they're gonna have to like scale everything down again.
They will.
You have to,
but you can do that very easily by introducing Captain Marvel and introducing new characters where you kind of have to start back at square one. But that's also my point is then, and I think they're going to keep building to like what they'll end up doing.
Yeah, what do you build towards, I guess, is the question.
Exactly. What do you build toward? I mean, like, and there's plenty of Marvel crossover events and they kind of go back into their own worlds and then get together. And that's kind of how the world is. But there's a production aspect, I think, of the films, which I think is what the mainstream and I think people in the industry are actually more fascinated with in the actual content. And I think that's what's going to be hard to surprise people with is how can we keep production exciting along with content. And that's why I think we're at a really crucial moment for the Marvel universe is and they've kind of continually kept surprising us. So I mean, I look to them in their favor, but it is a hard thing to do. And I do know, and there is, I mean, I have a tattoo, I have a bajillion books, but like I'm feeling the fatigue, guys, and not necessarily the Marvel films, but just superheroes in general. It's like how many like
gotta burst
there's the
point.
DC universe. They're trying to create new ones. Every television show, like there's Legends of Tomorrow, there's Arrow, there's Flash, there's Supergirl, there's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there's Jessica Jones. I mean, like I can't. And
it's on every platform, complete global saturation.
Exactly. And I'm just kind of like, I'm like tired and like, I like to do other things. Like growing up, it was like, I loved comic books and no one else did. And I like read comic books. And then I also loved movies and went to the movies, but they weren't the same thing. And now it's like, I feel like all the things that I love are all the same thing. And I'm like, I'm tired.
Well, and
I need to take a nap.
I mean, it's been well documented, like, and a few comments talked about this too, but, the same old tricks. I think even Infinity War is victim to a few of these, but like the scores are not very inspired generally. I mean, except for like music editing
Black Panther,
and music choice in like Guardians, and Black Panther because it had like a different cultural well to draw from than the other movies. But like by and large, all the other ones have like pretty nondescript scoring.
That's actually where DC kind of kicks Marvel's butt is they have better scores.
They have better scores. I mean, like even in Infinity War, there's like a certain scene that's like big and impactful and emotional in the middle of the movie, and the soundtrack to me was just so on the nose that I was just kind of like, oh, like it would have played better if there just wasn't music at all, like and that's one. And I think that the other big complaint that has been levied against them forever and that I've always heard is the villains aren't good. But I think as of late they've been really bucking that trend. Yeah, like
you have,
with Killmonger
and Vulture.
Thanos. Vulture was very good. The common denominator in those three specifically, you kind of see where they're coming from. Like these villains, to me, a good villain. I remember one of my other favorite villains from a Marvel movie, but not now like decanonized, was Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2.
Yes,
he was great.
Alfred Molina, like
that's a great film.
50 out of 10.
It's great. But like Alfred Molina, the whole time I'm like feeling for the villain. I'm like, oh man, and Killmonger and Thanos to some extent, and Vulture. You're like, yeah, I mean, your methods are totally insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're wrong about how you want to solve the problem, but you're right.
Mm-hmm.
The core, the central seed of your argument is, I can see where you're coming from at the very least.
Yeah.
And
But the
Killmonger
means don't
especially,
justify the
the
ends
means
for
don't
them.
justify the ends. And like, I mean, the crazy thing with Black Panther, spoiler for Black Panther, is the good guys sort of come to the same conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
I super wish that he'd actually like said it to him, but that's another thing. But like, yeah, and to me, like, if the audience is rooting for the heroes but understands where the villain is coming from, that's a recipe for success to me.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that we're kind of jumping around in my outline here, but something that these movies are doing really well that they've always sort of done. I mean, think about Iron Man 1 coming out the gate kind of as a commentary on America's presence in the Middle East and weaponry in general, kind of that kind of thing, like who's culpable for these sales and stuff. It's the classic sci-fi fantasy thing where you can discuss socio-political, philosophical, economic issues through a pretty thinly veiled, oftentimes, lens of fantasy. And I think that Marvel is really hitting the nail on the head recently with that.
Yes, because like it's pure entertainment, but like with a message, you know? You nailed it. And I think that's so valuable because you need to appeal to the masses with this movie. So I just think it's really awesome. I go back to like Avatar and everyone giving it, such a hard time, but it's like trying to spread the word of like save nature and like,
right.
And it's a simple message,
right?
But it's still through entertainment reaching millions of people, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I just think a lot of people don't always pick up on the message.
Right.
Yeah.
Even when it is something as obvious as some of these are.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, this is art and I'm here to, watch a movie and I want to be entertained and I don't really maybe process what's actually happening within the content of the film. I don't know. Like,
well, and it's a tricky line because I mean, like, some people, aren't even aware of like what the metaphor is a lot of the time. I mean, like X-Men is a great example. Like,
well, for sure. I mean, that's part of where my love of it comes. I mean, I growing up and like struggling with your sexual orientation and like not knowing what's going on and like, this idea of like, you're born different and you're just going to like be
and
okay.
And
I think that applies to to any minority and can frankly apply to anyone in general because we all are different people and we all have different things.
Referring, of course, to you're a ginger.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm a ginger. I'm a ginger. I have red hair. And look at pictures of Chris Hemsworth shirtless.
Sorry, I stole
this
your
classic
own
ginger.
joke.
I know that's a joke.
I stole your own joke.
Yeah.
What about Kylo Ren without his shirt on? That was pretty good.
I can't unsee the
mean,
Photoshop someone did with the getting over it with Bennett
different
Foddy
face.
and him and the
He was definitely like buffer than I thought he was.
real
gonna be.
buff, yeah.
Buff.
Look, you don't get to be that kind of like edge lord or whatever.
Yeah, you gotta put in the time.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
do some reps.
Yeah.
A little
You
bit.
know? Plus, I think the dark side bulks you up a little.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not being kept alive by a machine.
Right.
Anywho.
Can we ever see X-Men joining the MCU? Is it only a matter of time now?
I think so.
I mean, I think they'll at least throw in Wolverine if they don't throw in all of
Which
the X-Men.
Wolverine though? A new
Wolverine. I think they'll do a new Wolverine.
So Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman's out. I mean,
He's out.
I think that I think that would be an insanely brash move. People love Hugh Jackman.
If Avengers
I think
4
Ryan Reynolds is in. I think Hugh Jackman is out.
Ryan Reynolds as Wolverine?
Deadpool.
Oh, as Deadpool.
Because
yeah.
remember, that's also Fox.
They're gonna bring Deadpool.
And Deadpool, being Ryan Reynolds, can comment on the fact he's like, wasn't I in a different movie before? He can like do stuff because that's just how his character talks.
I think there's a clear to me with the Wolverine. You can scratch the Wolverine itch in a way that won't destroy either continuity if you have Weapon X-23. You have the female, quote unquote, basically the female Wolverine shows up eventually.
They could do that.
That to me would be a more seamless way of bridging that gap.
But
for
the
Wolverine
timeline
specifically,
I guess. Again, I mean, it's comic books, so they can do whatever. But I don't know how the films want to handle something in terms of like bringing in another world, another planet, where
and
it's
Logan
still
took
Earth.
place in the future.
Exactly. So like, how does the time? Like, to me, they just need to look. X-Men has suffered long enough from not being rebooted. Just wait, do not I want it tomorrow, but like make me hunger for it. Make me miss it. The next one is Dark Phoenix, which is next year, which was pushed, and then there's New Mutants as well. Actually, Deadpool 2 is out is next week.
That's right. Deadpool 2 and New Mutants is like a freaky horror movie.
But I think that's great.
Which is cool.
That's what I love with Fox. I mean, this is a separate kind of point, but there's a great debate among comic nerds whether X-Men it should be in its own world or not, because it's such an expansive universe with, frankly, so many popular characters.
Insane number of
on top of then having B characters, C characters, D characters, that how can they really showcase all of them if they're being integrated in the Marvel universe when they're also sharing screen time?
It's a valid point.
But there's also an element of these Marvel movies. Marvel is owned by Disney. There's a certain kind of tone that they typically do. Would Deadpool be made? Would Logan be made under? And what I love with the Fox movies is the tone. The tones are different than the Marvel movies. They're a little more serious in ways, but there's still humor in them as well.
Yeah.
And I will miss
gritty.
There's a little bit grittier, and I like that, but it's not like DC Universe gritty either. Where just want to die before you even see the movie.
We can get
except
into
Wonder
this.
Woman.
Let's get into it. I have a little like minor section here about Marvel versus DC, but like we don't have to like draw straws or anything. But I do want to call out Mark Miller, the comic book artist, whatever writer.
Yeah.
Don't know a lot about him.
I do.
Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Kick-Ass?
What?
Kick-Ass. He wrote Kick-Ass. So he actually wrote The Ultimates. So right when the first X-Men movies actually came out, in the Marvel comics, they basically they felt that continuity had gotten too much because they've been in existence forever. And so they created Spider-Man, X-Men, Avengers, and Fantastic Four under a different world universe called the Ultimate Universe. And it was basically what if these things started in modern day, and not only was it set in modern day, if Bush was president at the time, Bush was president in the books,
right? And
so they tried to incorporate things like when Tony Stark was out. I remember in one of the comics he's out with Shannon Elizabeth, who was the girl from American Pie, like the hot foreign exchange student. So like they would actually have him out with like an actual celebrity of the time. So it was sort of interesting that way. It was very some of the characters had kind of different background stories, but he wrote the Ultimates, which is the Avengers version of the Ultimate Universe, and they're called the Ultimates. They're not called the Avengers. Oh. And the first Avengers movie is actually based off of the Ultimates. It's not based off of the Avengers.
Really?
Which because he kind of wrote it as if it was a movie, not as if it was a comic book. And they still kept the characters more towards their Marvel Universe type characters and not the Ultimate Universe. But it's a great read. He wrote Ultimates. It's 4 trade paperbacks, I think.
Nice.
So it's like 20 or like 50 issues maybe or something. Or no, like 25 issues. I highly recommend it. It's very...
That sounds cool.
It's very, very good. Yeah.
That's... sort of like the
it's the best of, I think, the Ultimate
of the
world
Ultimates?
of all the Ultimate titles, because I think they took you read them?
No,
you have. Okay, so like the Ultimate X-Men, I felt like they changed characters' personalities too much. Where I'm like, yeah, I get like you're starting over, but like there's still people that have been developed, and I want the people to be similar.
Right.
And I feel like they kind of changed. And I just love X-Men so much that it was like hard to see that.
Not
change
my
a little
X-Men.
bit.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more forgiving with like the Ultimates.
But he said, and he's apparently written for DC as well. He says, I think it's really simple. The DC characters aren't cinematic, and I say that as a massive DC fan who much prefers their characters to Marvel's. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are some of my favorites, but I think these characters, with the exception of Batman, they aren't based around their secret identity. They're based around their powers. Whereas Marvel characters tend to be based around the personality of Matt Murdock or Peter Parker or the individual X-Men. It's all about the character. DC, outside of Batman, isn't as much about the character.
Mm-hmm.
He
which
also
I think is
wrote
an interesting point.
Great point.
He also wrote Old Man Logan, which Logan is based off of. Just FYI.
Of course.
And patron Todd Kramer had a similar notion that it's interesting that in Marvel, especially in the movies, the secret identities are known. They're out, basically. Whereas in DC, everyone's still hiding their identities.
Incognito.
Yeah, and I think that's... I mean, I remember at the end of Iron Man 1, right? Yeah, when he just says, I'm Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Iron Man.
So great.
I remember getting a jolt from that in the theaters and being like, oh, whoa, we're just going for it.
Totally.
I think it depends on the character. I mean, I think
Sokovia Accords.
Obviously, I think Spider-Man's always kind of a big one that they play with identity, and he's been
Right.
a little more free with it, but it's also with people that you're expected to trust won't divulge the identity.
But also, like, with Spider-Man specifically in the MCU, like, he's a kid.
Actually, what's fair is at the end of Homecoming, the scene with Aunt May.
Right.
Which I think was actually one of the best scenes, because
I love that.
I actually thought that was more jolting, because to me,
that was crazy.
When she's just
comics, like, what the
yeah, I mean, in the comics, Tony Stark is an out persona,
Right.
but for like nearly all of Spider-Man's history, he out of all characters is like, I'm a secret identity, I got people, whatever.
Well, because
and so for them to kind of drop that bomb in the first movie was like, oh, okay.
It has stakes. Like, if people know who he is, they can come after his family.
Yeah.
Like,
scary.
Yeah. And that's like his origin, his hot button issues, like dead family members.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't mess with that. It's, I don't know. It's cool. But yeah, I think that it's sort of funny because they exist on a continuum, right? Where DC, in a lot of ways, Christopher Nolan's Batman sort of like set DC down like a cursed path because like they have to be so serious and like crazy, but it's like not. It doesn't feel raw or fun, And
Which Nolan's?
In any of the DC movies to some extent, I'm generalizing a bit, and then like you said, the Fox movies exist somewhere in the middle where they're grittier, so they feel more alive and more fun. And Deadpool obviously has comedic.
I just think Fox plays with the tone. Like each movie kind of has a different tone depending on it. And Marvel movie, even if I'm watching Doctor Strange, it still has the feel of Iron Man, which still has the feel of Ant-Man. Like they all kind of, and like they're building a world, so I get it to a degree. But then there's just an element of like, I want to see. There are like dark Marvel Universe stories as well.
What's sad is with DC, they said like, oh, we're all about the filmmakers. We're going to let each filmmaker really define their own movie. We got James Wan doing Aquaman and David Ayer doing Suicide Squad and Zack Snyder. And it's like...
But then they meddle
so much. That all the movies have a similar aesthetic and tone.
Right.
And it's... And that's the biggest thing is that it's been so controlled and so rushed that it's like doomed at the outset. Honestly, I think we're at a point now where you toss it all out and try again. I'm sorry. Wonder Woman is amazing.
Need to reset.
2 will probably be amazing, but outside of that,
Wonder Woman's like their one.
Like, I'm a DC Comics guy and a Marvel movies guy because like
I
love
I was reading the hell out of Batwoman.
I love
Batman.
nothing even close to as much as Batman. And
Batman's great.
Superman, but it's like just redo it at this point.
I think part of the problem I think the DC films are having is the timing of the Nolan movies versus the Marvel Universe starting, because basically, I think The Dark Knight Rises came out the same year Avengers came out, and so you had Marvel building to something while you already had a franchise kind of going, but that franchise was ending, and you didn't know how to reboot, and they also rushed it. The same thing happened with Spider-Man with Sony, where they try and like, oh, we have to get another Spider-Man out, and there was backlash, and like obviously it did well enough to get a sequel, but like that's why with the X-Men I'm like, wait, like Batman, like I love the Tim Burton Batman movies, and by the time Nolan came out, it was like, oh, I'm ready for this again. And you also reinvented it, so it was like, okay, I'm ready for it. But when it's like 5 years has passed, and again, everything is superheroes, like I'm not really impressed by it anymore.
And Batman vs Superman, I rewatched a little while ago, and it was so much worse than I remember. And then Justice League, I saw in the theater, and was like, it wasn't bad, swimming in sevens, and I rewatched it digitally and turned it off halfway through because my time was being wasted. I was like, this is so
not
bad.
Good.
I'm more of a Marvel
and I'm
guy.
so easygoing. It was so bad.
I was the same way until all these superhero stuff kept coming out, because now I'm like, well, if I can have my pick of the litter, then I want to see the good stuff. But like with DC, it was like I saw Batman vs Superman, and I saw it opening weekend. I paid full price for it, and I was like, I can't actually support this, because like you're just in this for the money. There's there's nothing beyond money with this.
They're doing it because they have to, not because they want
to.
I feel like Zack Snyder's heart is in the right place. Like, You know, I this is a problem that it is at the top. It's on the top and it goes down. Like I forget his name. It was one of the heads of DC Warner Brothers, and just all the stories about him meddling and like, yo, we need the Justice League now. We gotta like jam everything in and have it all connect, and Suicide Squad, and adding like Bruce Wayne to that scene, and it's like you cannot rush these things. Like the MCU is so successful because they had a plan, and they were patient and they built towards it.
But even with like Suicide Squad, from what I've heard of the movie, I didn't even see the movie, and I am a major Joker Harley Quinn fan. Like love like two of my favorite characters within that world, and I couldn't even watch the movie because Batman vs Superman was so bad, and then the reviews were so bad for it that I was like, I can't. Like the reviews, I think were worse than Batman vs Superman.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
Squad is insane.
I can't.
It's insane. Yeah.
I can't do it. And the trailers were great. And what I heard, what happened was they basically like. There was
hired a trailer
company. They had a cut of the film, and they hired the trailer company to re-edit the film. Now, I don't know if, there's still content issues that I'm sure are there without the cutting or not.
It probably wouldn't have been great anyway, but
the way it kind of incorporated the music in the trailer, it almost felt like they were trying to make them Guardians of the Galaxy in this kind of like goofy misfit because we're actually villains. Exactly. So I was like, no, this could be really fun.
Well, then they try to course correct, and they're like, all right, we need more comedy now. Let's up the Flash and Wonder Woman comedy, and it's like now you're going against your brand. Because you're trying to mimic the MCU.
But can I say to talk about Marvel?
But can I say,
just comparing it?
Yeah.
Can I say that this ties to Marvel? As a comic reader, like growing up, like I never specifically thought that like DC was the dark universe and Marvel was the light universe. And I feel like that's what they kind of become.
Both.
Yeah, they both have both. Yeah. Some of them have dark stories, some of them don't. But I feel like everything that's like not the comic book for DC is like heavy and weighing me down, and I think that's kind of the success of Wonder Woman as well. Is that the film had more depth to it. It wasn't just like they didn't feel like the world was ending anyway. I feel like every DC movie, like I'm starting with the movie where the movie's going to end, where it's like the world sucks, the world's ending, it's still ending at the end of the movie. Something else
like that too. Like
I don't.
So many world
when you
ending.
see Ant-Man, I mean, like
no, but like even Thor Ragnarok is like world ending. Avengers world ending.
That's like the ending of this phase, though. So it's like they're trying to up the stakes.
Several people actually mentioned Ant-Man as among their favorites because for that exact reason. That and I'm looking for the exact comment right now, but someone said that they really liked it because it wasn't the whole world.
It was his world.
It was his world.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Totally.
Do you
Spider-Man.
guys feel as though Spider-Man Homecoming as well? Do you guys feel that the MCU has evolved, gotten better over the years, or has 100%. It kind of always been hitting?
No, they hit their stride.
When?
Phase 2, I really think. You look at Winter Soldier. Like Winter Soldier is the moment that elevated the entire MCU to something bigger. Like past popcorn entertainment.
Phase 2 began with Iron Man 3,
which is not good,
and Thor: The Dark World, which are arguably among the worst.
Correct.
I enjoyed Iron Man 3, though.
Iron Man 3 has funny stuff.
I think Iron Man 3 is actually a good movie,
but
in terms of the content and like how they mess up the Mandarin and other things, like I totally get that. If that was an X-Men movie, I'd be pulling my hair out, but it's not, so I don't care. Thor: Dark World is awful, but I agree. Winter Soldier is
the moment.
Winter Soldier, again, because it felt like a film. It didn't feel like we were watching a superhero film. It felt like we were watching an actual film.
Right.
Yeah, it changed the whole tone of the MCU.
Yeah,
it made it more culturally relevant.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I think they had to kind of build, like they knew Iron Man was popular, and then I think Avengers is actually probably the moment that we were like, oh, there's something's happening. And then Iron Man 3 was like, well, we love Iron Man, so it's fine and it's fun. And then Thor, we were like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then Winter Soldier, we were like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Like that was a moment. You know, Avengers 1 comes out and we get the team up that we're all waiting for, and then we go back to the solo movies. I remember it being a little jarring.
But that's how it's going to, that's in terms of talking about the next phase, like I think the rumors that I've heard, if they acquire, is that they'll probably actually try and rush Fantastic Four in.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Reboot again?
Which I've heard fans are wanting John Krasinski actually to play Mr. Fantastic, which
actually
that
kind of
fits that, right?
I could see that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm like,
Emily Blunt as Invisible Woman.
I could actually see that
Incredibles.
too.
Guardians. The rest of Phase 2 was Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man. Here's my thing. Yeah, for me, like, the best ones are Winter Soldier, Guardians, Thor Ragnarok, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and Infinity War. The two first Avengers movies I actively disliked.
Why?
I thought they were poorly paced. I thought that the first movie, felt like Avengers 1 felt like I was reading the script, and they were like, every 10 pages there has to be an action beat. Like, people fighting each other for no reason. And I know, like, it's that staff affecting their minds or whatever, but, like, I felt that wasn't, like, having never seen any of the Thors, I'm like, that wasn't adequately set up in the movie. So maybe it's on me.
You didn't see Thor, so you don't know what the hell's going on.
I don't know what the hell's
Loki
going
and
on.
Thor, the main villain of the movie, Ian.
So, like, maybe
Yeah,
it's
I
that.
can see how that be.
Maybe it's that. Like,
I mean, I think
yeah.
I enjoy both Avengers films. I think the first one,
Age of Ultron's not great.
I
Studio
love
meddling.
James Spader.
Studio meddling once again.
studio meddling, but I actually think Age of
Studio
Ultron
meddling.
gets a worse rep than it deserves.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
terrible.
not-
I love me some Spader, man.
And I love me
I'll
some-
show up for Spader.
Yeah.
Spader and Andy Serkis.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's
I
the
love
origin of
that.
that character.
And
Yeah.
how cool is that? I love that's
Yeah,
why the
they
MCU is
planned this.
so beautiful. Just little tiny connective tissues of Ulysses Claw,
Yeah.
Ultron going to get the adamantium from him years before we see Black Panther. Just building on that.
I also
that
think-
those connective lines throughout are just so awesome.
But I also think that's also going back to Winter Soldier. That's how we noticed that people. I feel like the industry started taking Marvel more seriously with Winter Soldier because all of
Yeah.
a sudden they got better actors in their movies more often.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Like, I mean, and I think even I read something. I talked to the director. I read some article where the directors were talking about what's her name? Kate Blanchett's character Hellel. Is that how you pronounce
Yeah,
it?
Hella.
I think it's Hellel or Hella.
Hella.
Hella. They actually wanted her to be, I think, in Dark World. But they didn't do it. But they were like, we're so glad because Kate Blanchett wouldn't have been her.
Yeah.
Or I don't even think it would have been her. And she's so, I mean, like,
She was great.
Halloween 2018 guys.
Oh, yeah.
She was great.
Abso.
There's another great villain. Yeah,
Yeah,
she was great.
Yeah,
I mean, I love
she was
Thor
so good.
Ragnarok.
And Loki, of course. There's a lot of good villains.
Patron Logan says that one of the things that is
Zemo.
lacking in the weaker films are good side characters. That you were bringing up. What's his name? Claw. Whatever.
Ulysses Claw,
Claw.
Actually, I feel like a good question I'd ask you guys is who is your favorite, like, side character? Or, like...
Can I say Coulson? The entire Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. team. I always say Coulson.
The entire
like,
Agents of
there's
S.H.I.E.L.D.
so
is
much-
side characters.
I mean,
always
kind
say
of.
Coulson.
If you
I mean,
really
kind
want
of.
to think about it, but that's not exactly where I was going
No,
with. But
right.
Like Coulson is probably my favorite, but like I always say Coulson because everyone knows Coulson.
is Agents of
But,
S.H.I.E.L.D. your
like,
favorite thing in the Marvel film world?
Winter Soldier?
Winter
It's
Soldier's
like,
still
Winter
okay.
Soldier's the best.
Which still is very S.H.I.E.L.D. heavy.
Yeah,
I think you just like
very.
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Because there's a really good tie-in too. Like S.H.I.E.L.D. plays a role
Right.
in what happens in.
I saw
Winter
a few of those
Soldier.
episodes, which were good.
Yeah.
They were good.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Mine would be weird. Like the first one that came to mind was Scarlet Witch, but she's like a main character, kinda.
Yeah.
I totally get that. And I loved, I mean, one of the things I'll praise Infinity War for was making her, like, badass.
Awesome.
Matter
Yeah.
more.
One of my
yeah.
favorite
I mean, she did matter more, but, like, she growing up was one of my favorite characters, and I've never really liked many interpretations I've ever, like, even cartoons and whatnot that I've seen of
Yeah.
her.
I don't really know anything about her.
Well,
besides these movies.
she and Quicksilver are Magneto's children.
Right. Yeah, I knew that.
Which
Which
is
they're not allowed to say.
They're not allowed to say. Well, they basically changed it for the films.
Didn't they like hint at it at first or something?
No, not in. They hint at Quicksilver in the X-Men world, but not
Right.
in.
Okay. I had it flipped. Okay.
Yeah.
Like they hint that Magneto has 2 kids somewhere in one of the X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought they made her badass, and they definitely still need more females kicking butt. And she's so powerful, and I love Oki's line after she has her kick-ass battle scene.
Okoye?
Okoye, I don't know how to pronounce her name.
T'Challa's number 1.
Yeah, her guard.
Yeah.
King T'Challa. Love.
She's great. She's one of my favorite. Her and Drax
amazing.
are like.
Oh yeah, it's out of control.
Yeah.
That scene in Civil War, I think it is, when Scarlet Witch like messes up Vision.
Yeah.
Just like building on their relationship in Infinity War was like
Yeah.
one of the most rewarding.
They did a
T'Challa's
really
sister
good
is
job
really
of like
good.
doing that though.
Shuri,
Shuri, I think.
I would say Siri.
Yeah, Shuri. I
I think
think.
it's Shuri. Yeah. There's an H
she's
in it.
great.
I know.
Yeah.
I just love that she's like the smartest scientist
in the world.
in the whole
world,
MCU.
yeah.
It's just like, all right,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
With Vision too.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, why didn't you do that?
Because we
because
didn't think of that.
she's like,
Oh, right.
like, wouldn't have Vision have thought of it though? Isn't Vision like probably even
He
smarter?
didn't exist when they were making him. It's Vision got a little confused.
Yeah.
Like
He's got things to
in
worry
Age of
about.
Ultron, it's like he's like four
Yeah.
different things.
It's
and
true,
like
true.
he was like super powerful in that movie and then not in this one. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, but I feel like they did do a good job of like making them a couple
Yeah.
Oh, it was
without
great.
like
It was so
without
well done.
also really ever doing anything with it or
Yeah.
like starting it. They're just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, I looked at you in one movie and
Civil
now
War,
in Civil
they
War.
were close, and
Yeah,
that was
yeah, yeah.
really it.
Now
But I
it's a
think
thing.
like he saves her at the end of in Age of Ultron. Like
Yeah.
she's on she like I think kills Ultron, and then spoiler for Age of Ultron from like 6 years ago. She like grabs his like mechanical heart out, and then the train's falling with the building, and he just comes and saves her.
Right.
And I think that's smart, and it's that kind of planning.
stealing moments. Yeah.
Where it's like this one scene from a movie has actually built up to this now relationship in Infinity War because they haven't been on screen and they don't have their own film, so we're just going to kind of
Yeah, which
And there's a
I
time.
highly appreciate that in that MCU started doing that more. It seems as though we've finally gotten away from the need to have origin stories
Yeah.
over and over and
Oh my
over
God.
again. Like this movie Infinity War should have been a terrible failure and would have been if they gave us any of that exposition. Kind of back to the point we were talking about before where it's like if you're not in, you're not going to understand anything. That's maybe the greatest strength of this movie is
Absolutely.
because it just assumes you have all that foreknowledge and it's a better film for fans and maybe a worse film for non-fans because
Yeah.
of that. But like every
I
moment
say, yo,
felt
you
fresh.
had 10 years to catch up.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? If you go into Infinity War and you're actually mad
Right.
because you didn't understand something, because you didn't see
The six
the
requisite movies.
Yeah.
then like,
Right.
no, you can't complain about
Yeah,
that.
that's on you.
I mean, I
It's
think there
on
is an
you.
origin story of Thanos in Infinity
Yeah,
War.
I mean, it's his
but
movie.
it's not but that's not the stakes of the movie, and so therefore it doesn't feel like the actual movie itself.
But-
For like
and
a
they-
lot of the like traditional first movies of superhero, like I get it,
Right.
your parents died,
Right.
Like,
and nothing cool happens. It's the same problem I have with the Netflix series. Is like
Yes.
nothing good happens until the last episode. Like Luke
first
Cage
one
was
is
driving
always
me
really good.
insane. Where it's like I don't do that anymore, and I'm
Yeah.
like, we all know you're gonna do it.
yeah.
Dramatic irony is not good if we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Right.
It
I think they're
sucks.
trying to make the Netflix stuff darker though, because
And
it's like
longer.
street level.
Netflix
Well,
just
it's
wants
a
you to
series
binge.
as well.
That's
But
too long.
whatever. But
yeah.
I think that with the introduction of Black Panther in
Civil War, yeah.
we got his origin story
for
kind of
sure.
couched in a different movie
sure.
with the relationship between whatever in Infinity War. That's the sort of origins of that don't matter. We just accept it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because it's kind of none of our business.
Even starting with, Thanos already has one of the stones, and the battle. It opens with the end of a battle,
Yeah.
and a battle had already taken place,
Yeah.
and we
it's
just start
mentioned,
there.
Yeah.
Well,
Good.
sometimes we can also like enjoy things without actually like knowing all the details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I
was
feel
like,
at
oh,
some point
God,
when you
we
watch
know
these
the core.
movies, like you can't, and I think it's partly because I read it, but like you can't nitpick everything.
Right.
This entire movie is not possible. So like if we're gonna
Right.
really nitpick this,
Yeah.
like
None of this makes
I
sense.
can't
Yeah.
even. I don't even want to begin because
Yeah.
we'll be here for 7 hours, and at the
Right.
end of it, we're gonna be like, "Yep, you're right. This movie doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
This movie isn't
You're right.
possible."
Okay,
All right,
yeah,
cool. Let's
it's a
call it a
comic
day.
book. Gotcha.
Yeah, we're having fun.
I mean,
there's a message in it. It's not always
I
fully
don't wanna poke
logical.
holes in it.
It's okay.
Yeah. Kevin
You'll still get up in the
Feige,
morning. Yes.
was appointed president of Marvel Studios in 2007 and is often cited as responsible for the MCU at large. I mean, do you guys agree? I mean, he was appointed, and then Iron Man
Yeah.
happened in 2008.
Yeah.
And it's been under his purview since. According to his Wikipedia page, his contract is slated to end in 2019. Not sure if that's still true.
Wow.
It seems like it would be crazy if he. I
Avengers
mean, maybe
4, Avengers 4 mic drop.
Well,
Peace.
I mean, that's just the nature of contracts. Like they expire and then they
Right.
re-sign. You know,
Yeah.
so he'll probably just whatever. But like, it'd be nuts if he stopped helming the ship.
Yeah.
Because I do think that's a comment that came up amongst the patrons. And again, patrons, I'm sorry I'm not calling out as many of you by name. It's just we were having a rip-roaring convo here in IRLZs. But a lot of people mentioned that like Marvel really knows how to pick the personnel cast the actors, pick the casting director is good, the cinematography is generally good, the directors for these movies are by and large generally pretty good. They seem to have the guts.
Or have been getting better.
Getting better.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. They seem to have the guts to move away from famous directors if it's not landing. Like, I mean, Jon Favreau doesn't seem to direct them as much anymore. They cut ties with Edgar Wright. I'm still kind of bummed about that. But they kicked. I don't know if they kicked him to the curb, but Joss Whedon didn't direct Avengers.
Joss Whedon bounced out.
Well, Joss. I mean, I know because
2.
I am the nerdy enough where I know some production
Tell me,
stuff on this. So I know with Jon Favreau, I think allegedly there was like drama. I think between him and I think Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, really?
And so I think they basically he's still in the movies.
Yeah, he's in Spider-Man.
But I think that there were just issues there.
Really?
And that's why he stepped away. Joss Whedon. I mean, Avengers 2 has infamously broke him. He got off social media because people were trolling him so much.
I blame it entirely on that Thor scene that they made him put in there. When Thor goes on the random journey in Avengers 2.
Oh, yeah.
When he first learns about, like, the stones, he goes to some, like, pool thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Thor thing, yeah.
After Avengers 2 came out, like, that is all I remember reading about Joss Whedon. He was like, they made me put that scene in. I didn't want to put it in. Like,
I mean, it's also
like that took away 15 minutes that I could have given to Hawkeye, because that's when Hawkeye finally got some love. Was Avengers 2?
I love Hawkeye.
We go to Hawkeye's house and we see Hawkeye living. Yeah. He's like, dude, I would have had way more Hawkeye, more of this, and it's like Marvel made me put this random Thor thing in just to tease Infinity Stones later down the line.
Yeah.
So going back to the supporting character real quick, I love Hawkeye. The movies do not do him justice at all. He's much better in the books. I still think he's not bad in the movies. Well, I mean, in this, I think
he's just a guy with a bow and arrow in the movie.
Age of Ultron does have a scene with him and his wife though, where she's like,
and Scarlet Witch too.
You're kind of like the human of the group. Like you bring the humanity to these people that are kind of not grounded. And I think that actually is true to the character. But what's interesting, going back to the Ultimates as well, he's not married in like the regular universe. In the Ultimate universe, he is married. But as a spoiler to that series that came out 15, 20 years ago, like his entire family is murdered, including the children.
Dang.
Woof.
So I was actually surprised to see that they went with, because out of all the characters, he's the only one that they went to go with the ultimate version of his background.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I have a theory about that, but
yeah, we can't really
don't want to get into that.
Yeah. He's gonna show up.
I mean, we assume he'll show up again.
I mean,
the Black Widow movie is potentially happening now.
No, he will definitely show up. I believe he is actually announced as in Avengers 4, so that shouldn't give away anything. There is his character in the books has other identities at some points. Very briefly, he's typically Hawkeye like 90% of the time. And so I believe a different identity might appear in the next film.
That's something I wanted to talk about briefly is we exist in the world. These films aren't coming out in a vacuum. We know that Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. have sort of famously said, like, I'm ready to be done in this big of a capacity, whatever. A lot of people speculate that that'll mean their characters will die off or whatever. I'm kind of hoping they get to just kind of retire into the sunset and like marry somebody or whatever, but like, pie in the sky. It is interesting though that we have that a lot of the stories are kind of broken just by nature of contract agreements. And
I mean, I'm the thing I'm most fascinated with the Marvel Universe, and I'm a comic nerd, is the production,
right?
Because you can't, at some point, these characters are not going to like, and they've replaced, Terrence Howard was War Machine, and then they replaced it with John Cheadle, so they can kind of replace people, but
and they made, I think, like a little joke about like, you look different.
Yeah, and so like, you can kind of get away with it, but like, someone as beloved as most of these major characters are now, you can't really replace.
And I think
you
that
have to,
what
we're pass it on.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We're gonna maybe we would still have Iron Man, but it would be Don Cheadle, or it'll be. I actually think, and you can tell me if this ever happens in the comic books. This is not really based on anything besides just pie in the sky, but like, some kind of like Iron Spider, like Spider-Man becomes Iron Man. Like Tom Holland is Iron Man, but he has spider powers.
I mean, they are sort of building up him to be the next Tony Stark, at least. I mean, even outside of
identity.
Well, I mean, which is also not I mean, it's a very interesting. It's a choice. It makes sense, and it gives Spider-Man a new origin a little bit, which I appreciate. Yeah. But at the same time, like part of my problem with Spider-Man: Homecoming was this element of like everything's just tech. So it's like, is nothing like. I like that he was bit by a radioactive spider. You know, like I like that it's like.
I mean, he has spider powers.
I know, but like everything feels so tech based. Yeah, for sure. No, I totally get that, but like it's just. It adds a and I get like we're in modern times, we have to update the technology, et cetera, et cetera.
MCU,
but to me it's less impressive and less. I mean, everyone can be a superhero if we all have access to technology.
Well, yeah,
but that's why Shield is so cool because they're like trying to quell that all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
To quote Batman in Justice League, when Flash says, "What's your superpower again?" he just goes, "I'm rich," and then they tear ass out of there in the Lamborghini. It's a funny line. I don't know.
It's a funny
Maybe
line.
the only good line in that movie. God. But, yeah, I mean, I do like with Spider-Man, I like web canisters. I like that conceit. Mm-hmm. I prefer the web canister version of Spider-Man to the shoot webs version because it can run out. Mm-hmm. And, like, obviously we've already seen it in Spider-Man Homecoming where, like, the technology goes away and then you have to rise to the occasion. Like,
sure.
That, you know, it's just another thing they can do. But
there's also just a lot of Iron Man in Spider-Man.
There's a lot of Iron Man, in,
which I think was sort of
he's the through line of the whole thing, basically. Him and Captain America.
And I think that paid off in Avengers: Infinity War tenfold.
Absolutely.
And I didn't even see that. Like going in, I wasn't hyped to see more of Iron Man and Spider-Man together, but I should have been because of the seeds they planted.
It changed the nature. Yeah, it changed the nature of it a little bit. Again, don't want to talk about it too specifically, but I kind of like where it kind of headed.
Took them,
moving forward here, let's see. So superhero movies, everyone kind of assumed maybe 7-8 years ago that it was kind of a phase. I mean, Marvel calls them phases. We could call them a fad.
A fad.
But like, I think
fad is short for something.
Infatuation? I don't know, actually. Infatuation?
I don't know either.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. On the spot, I'm not sure. But I think that the success of Black Panther and Infinity War and Thor Ragnarok even recently have shown us that, like, if it is a fad, it's still going. It's been more than 10 years. Like, do we think this can keep going?
I think these films are, especially I think today, like people want action movies and people when they spend, because we watch everything at home and we watch them on televisions, which granted televisions are now larger as well, but like action movies are the movies that consumers are like, I want to spend the money to see this on an actual giant screen. So I think they're really kind of built for it. And I think the interesting thing is kind of the movie versions are actually kind of now the more known version of the story. And then it kind of has hurt the comic book industry because now the movie versions are there. Mm-hmm. I think that the superhero is going to become a genre like horror or like musicals.
Sure.
So what will basically happen is, you know, Marvel was originally 1 a year and then it was 2 a year and then 3 a year. And now it's 4 movies a year, all Marvel. That's just Marvel, not including other superhero stuff. Yeah. And what's going to happen is once the money starts getting lower, it's going to be 3 a year and it's going to be 2 a year. And we're just going to go in cycles. And the more we spend on it, the more it'll come back. And, you know,
it'll probably ebb and flow.
But at some point, I do think Marvel Studios will probably like not be. I mean, it certainly won't be as prominent as it is now.
Definitely going to be a totally new landscape after Avengers 4.
Yeah.
Sure.
So like,
find so many ways to shake it up. I mean, you just look at Deadpool.
But
you look at Logan.
Yeah.
Well,
like it blows my mind.
If there's anything that
relevant they stay.
If there's anything that Disney has proven itself capable of, is staying relevant and pivoting. Like Disney has been one of the most successful media companies forever, and you know I don't see any sign of that slowing down, barring major incident, you know, like nuclear holocaust or something. Like I think that they will find a way to keep going, and yeah, it may be that they sunset superheroes after a while, Marvel goes away, but like I think that honestly, my honest guess would be like that wouldn't happen for maybe 20 or 30 years.
I mean, probably. I think I'll be interested to see how long Marvel can really keep up this, like, every movie is a chapter in Marvel,
right?
Where we're still so invested, and then after we get less invested and we'd see even less of the movies, then you can't really build up to something because it's not as mainstream.
Right.
So then how do you go from there? So like, could it still be a company? Probably. How will it evolve? Will it shift back into comics? Will it shift somewhere else? Mm-hmm. Is it going to be an online 10-minute action clip that they release every, you know, year. I mean, they can shift and go any direction that they want to do.
Well, and who knows about like emergent technology? Like 10, 15 years from now, movies might not even be the way that they are right now. Like they might be so enmeshed with video gaming that who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it
like,
could
who
be
knows?
literally like just virtual reality.
Right. But
go to Stark Labs.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. I think that now I'm just like I lost my train of thought because I'm just thinking of like, oh man,
VR, Iron Man
to
suit,
be a movie. But yeah, I think that Marvel has shown that they, are good at reading the room lately, especially lately. Like the last like 4 or 5 movies, it's like they're hitting like. It almost feels like prescient sometimes, where it's like Black Panther hit at like the right time, and Infinity War shook things up in the right way, like right when it needed to.
I'm interested to see how Captain Marvel does as their first female movie, especially because we've already gotten Wonder Woman.
Right.
So will the mainstream masses? I mean, I'm sure it'll still do well, but is it going to have the kind of feminist support behind it that Wonder Woman had? I don't know.
I think Marvel being in the name.
Yeah.
We'll for sure get people there.
Yeah.
And I think it was actually
and it's Brie Larson, and she's like very well respected.
There's a ton of other people in the cast too.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they just said
it was someone big. Who was it?
Not Helen Mirren. Is it? No. Let's look.
It was someone big. Anyway.
Michelle Pfeiffer's in Ant-Man and Wasp. I didn't know that to the
Yeah,
poster.
She's like the bad guy, right?
I think so. I don't know.
Annette Bening.
Today.
Ooh.
8 hours ago.
There it is.
Joining Captain Marvel. I don't even know if we know. I haven't read it yet, but I don't know if we know the capacity. But
who knows?
But I mean, I
don't
think
want to know.
Yeah,
well, and Captain Marvel.
I'm just gonna.
Captain Marvel, much like Wonder Woman, is set in the past, in the 90s.
90s,
yeah.
90s.
So it's going to explain like where she's been,
Right.
how
It's
he.
going to explain
yeah.
a lot of things.
It's going to explain a lot of things. What's her
With
power?
Phil Coulson.
What are her powers? She can beam energy.
I don't. So okay, I'm gonna tie this back to X-Men because I'm gonna do that with everything here. So in X-Men, Rogue has her mutant power is to absorb.
Yes.
So she's on the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants with Mystique in the comics, and she's actually fighting. Rogue is, and she's actually fighting Miss Marvel, who is Captain Marvel's original debut name was Miss Marvel, and she absorbs her for so long that she keeps her flight, and she puts her in a coma.
Oh.
I mean, later is in a coma and then ends up being alive.
Yeah.
But the Rogue's flight and super strength are actually from Captain Marvel.
Right.
And Captain Marvel has a lot of ties to Mystique and Rogue because of this interaction. So it's also interesting that they can't use these characters that are actually big characters in her world.
And right now, if I'm not mistaken, in comics, Captain Marvel used to be male and is female.
So,
and Ms. Marvel is right now concurrently running as a different person. I believe she's Arab American.
No, okay, so I can explain this.
Okay.
So, I don't know when she was created, but basically, I don't remember what DC basically took a Marvel character that was male, and I don't remember which character it was, and I think made a female character version of it.
DC did.
DC did.
Right?
Yeah, it was something where they basically like generically stole a character, and I don't know if it was a big character, but just made it female, and so therefore it was like legal. So then Marvel was like, oh, we need to create female versions so they made Spider-Woman, She-Hulk, and Captain Marvel, and they were the first kind of female solo series, I believe, at Marvel.
Really? That's why they did that?
None of which were, I think, popular at the time. She-Hulk's She-Hulk's like Deadpool later on. She has a great book called Sensational She-Hulk. Check it out.
I really liked A-Force, where it was like the female version of all of them.
Yeah. So there was a Kree alien, which I believe is what Ronan is from Guardians of the Galaxy.
And they're the aliens that come in Avengers 1?
No, that's the Chitauri.
Oh, okay.
Kree, a lot of inhuman stuff.
Yeah, inhuman stuff is Kree. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They're
and
referenced here and there.
Yeah.
A lot in S.H.I.E.L.D., actually. A lot of Kree stuff. Which is so interesting because Coulson now is going to be in Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
It's all coming back. It's all coming together.
Number one S.H.I.E.L.D. fan right here.
It. Oh, he is.
Number one S.H.I.E.L.D. fan.
He might be.
This is the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. He's the shield.
But so basically, I don't know the full transition, but he basically like he is full Kree, and I think she's just human, but she gets his powers basically.
Okay.
Which is flight, super strength. Captain Marvel does, and then she goes by a title because I think he's still. I don't know if he died. I don't know, but she gets his powers from him, and then she goes by Miss Marvel. And then it wasn't until probably like 6 years ago that she started going by Captain Marvel, and will be wearing the suit that she started wearing in that time, which is kind of a more, she was wearing like basically like a swimsuit, and that was her like outfit, and now she's wearing like an actual uniform. So they're trying to, I think, modernize it, not sexualize it as much.
Her costume looks cool on the poster.
It's green.
The poster's sick.
So and like,
I haven't seen the poster.
So the original, the male Captain Marvel, his colors were like green, like that kind of green color that they're showing.
Okay.
And then her colors end up becoming red and yellow and blue. And so she, like 5 years ago, she becomes Captain Marvel, and then they created a new character called, who takes over the mantle of Miss Marvel.
Because
she is an Inhuman,
but because she respects Captain Marvel is what someone told me, that like she's like a fan.
Yeah, she's like a fan of Captain Marvel. And Miss Marvel is no longer being used because she now goes by Captain Marvel. So she takes on this title, and she gets her powers from the Terrigen crystals from Inhumans, which is a whole nother long story of as to how that had happened. And I don't even know her powers. Her book's very critically acclaimed. She's probably one of Marvel's biggest up and coming new characters. Ms. Marvel is.
I've been wanting to pick it up. It looks cool.
And she has a female writer who I believe is also Middle Eastern, and so is the character. And it's great, more diversity from Marvel. It's one of the few diversity posters that has been very successful for Marvel recently. So it's great.
That's great. Yeah.
So maybe she'll be in the film at some point too. Who knows? But
yeah,
so hyped for that. Captain Marvel is gonna be so cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I just wanted to talk briefly about Black Panther because, speaking of diversity, it's like a lot of people equate those two things, and obviously it's a big part of it. It's really great to have representation of underrepresented people in a huge tentpole movie like this. Black Panther has been so successful, though. Like, it obviously isn't just because of that. Like, it's because it's also just a good movie. Several comments, and like the comment that you see a lot on the internet is like, Black Panther wasn't that great. And it's like,
come on.
I mean, sure, it has like, it's not like the most breakneck paced movie, and like if you're comparing it to like, you know, whatever, like
also nothing's
art
perfect.
Films.
Yeah,
also,
nothing.
like
there are flaws in Winter Soldier. There are flaws in every movie. Yeah.
For me personally, Black Panther would maybe be like third or fourth best Marvel movie, maybe fifth. Like, it's not even as good as some of the other ones, but like it's still pretty fun.
Well, people troll online, and then people get when something becomes so popular, it becomes like cool to then bash it. Like,
Black Panther, I love and definitely is in the top 5. But I love even more than watching it is to think about it. It's one of my favorite MCU movies to just think about. It's just so fascinating. The whole world of Wakanda, all the political ramifications, and Killmonger's perspective versus T'Challa's perspective. There's just so much to think about and digest with it. It's just rules.
Like,
it's
a complicated movie too, because like for a majority of watching Black Panther, I was like, Killmonger is right. Like, you guys dropped the ball. Yeah. You screwed up. Like, the heroes of this movie did the wrong thing.
Seeing it again, the only part where it's like, okay, Killmonger, calm down, is when he is like, all right, we have to kill everyone.
Right. I mean, obviously.
That one
obviously, his means are wrong. Yeah. Like, and I don't even know, like, he's so blinded by rage. Like, I don't even think that the outcome that he was hoping for would even come from his actions. Like, he would just start shit and then it would go sideways.
World would be at war.
Right. Yeah. Like, everything would get destroyed. But, like, up until he goes, like, off the deep end with rage, like, you're just like, yo, yeah, no, you're right. The good guys were doing the wrong thing. Like, slavery was happening, and they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, that's right. Like, I mean, that was the wrong move. Like, he's right about that. Like, you just
when
left.
Good people do nothing.
When good people do nothing, right? And it's like, it brings up these questions of like, okay, now they're showing up to the global scene, and it's like,
it's never too late.
Is it never too late? Like, these are the things that movie brings up that I think are really cool. And I mean, there are moments when like certain things happen in other movies now, but like, oh man, Wakanda just gets. I'm so jazzed about Wakanda, dude. Like Wakanda. The second those drums come in, I'm just like, yeah.
Wakanda is the best.
Like
that's why I want a Black Panther game so bad, because I just want to open world Wakanda. Like, let's go.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That's the thing about
running through Wakanda is like Black Panther.
It'd be nuts. That's the thing about Infinity War, non-specifically, but like, I'm like, I run fairly like neutral about most things in this human existence, and like Infinity War got me excited multiple times. I was just like, I could turn it all off and just go like, this is a really fun time.
So meaty.
I'm getting into this. I'm feeling this. I'm just excited. I'm like, I'm like grabbing the person next to me. I'm like,
I love those experiences. You want to see it in the theater.
That's what the
Ian,
Marvel.
I'm curious
that's to me what MCU is all about.
I'm extremely curious to hear your point of view on this because we always talk about how long some of these movies are. We've talked about how long the Netflix series are.
Yeah.
Avengers Infinity War is 2.5 hours.
But because it's all...
Wow, does it fly by?
Right. I didn't feel bored at all. I've heard some people were like bored by it, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I really found it entertaining. I didn't feel like the call of nature during the movie. I was just like here for it. And
none of the characters felt shoo-inned, and I felt like every character had like... didn't have development, but had like a moment.
Everyone got a moment.
I think like on subsequent rewatchings, like I can imagine myself thinking like, one or two scenes like, okay, like this is going a little long. One in particular I can think of, but I don't want to say it. But like,
are we allowed to talk about the biggest criticism? It's hard to talk about without spoiling it. Anyway, there's a big criticism about the end of why Thanos didn't do something.
Oh, here's the thing.
And I'm so
the what if arguments that people levy against movies like these, where it's like, oh, why didn't they just do that? And it's like,
why didn't Thanos just do this? Why did he do that?
Why anything?
Yeah.
Like, also, like, you're asking why a sociopath isn't doing a thing. It's like because empathy is broken for this individual.
You
like,
cannot reason with
Thanos. you like he's the bad guy is why.
Yeah.
And I love that too. He does. It's like not even personal.
No.
He spares so many people's lives. He takes
Careful
out,
now.
Yeah, I mean, very beginning of the movie, he takes someone out because they mock him.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He doesn't hate anybody.
Yeah.
He like in his own way, he doesn't hate the heroes.
Yeah.
For him it is kind of just like a math thing. And I kind of love that.
It's cool.
I mean, it was definitely interesting and I think relevant to today, which is also scary at the same time. And I think the movies are becoming more commentary on things.
Yeah.
Baseline for a lot of them. I think Black Panther hit multiple commentaries, which is why it was so successful.
Black
and
Panther,
it also came out at a time where, we're a very divided world right now. And I also think that, and that's why it was important to come out now.
And
I
think central message.
And I think the support, it's also, this moment of like, the world just loves Black Panther is like the best moment.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I have not felt that with any other Marvel. Not when Iron Man first came out. Like we're just like Black Panther's the man. Yeah. We love this. Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.
Like, yeah. I don't know if everyone goes that far.
Kendrick Lamar
but like,
hype.
but we all like, it hit at the right time. And again, that's why I love this genre because I've read enough of it where I know it can be Black Panther.
Yeah.
And when it is, it's magical. It just hits you on all. It hits you intelligently. It hits you emotionally.
Right.
It hits that little kid in you. It hits the action. It gets everything that you want.
Because you guys kind of talked about it too, about like the audience not always getting it, the commentary. That's another reason. I know I brought it up a million times. That's another reason I like S.H.I.E.L.D. is because I understand.
This entire thing has been him being S.H.I.E.L.D. and me being X-Men. It's like literally.
I'm sorry.
Ian's like, I'm trying to bring this back to the actual Marvel Universe films.
The show has that commentary in a really digestible, like easy way to understand.
Yeah,
and that's something that speaks to me, and I love.
Well,
yeah,
just commentary. Current commentary.
For sure.
And I think,
for sure.
What you were saying, like the Marvel movies, to kind of bring this all to a close, because we're running a little long. We can't go on forever, even though I kind of want to at this stage. But like,
this is phase one.
This is phase one of this episode of. But what you were saying is like, it brings out that kid in you. It brings out wonder in you, and like I will sit through, I'll maybe not go to the Thor 2 Dark Worlds of the thing, and like I'll sit through the duds or whatever. But the ones that hit are just a lot of fun, and they can have a commentary, they can have a social meaning, they can make you feel these things, and to me that's worth it. To me that's not really worth criticizing too closely with a fine-tooth comb. Like, I mean, I kind of feel like, not to open this can of worms, but like I feel a similar way about Star Wars, where it's just like, hey, I love this. It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna show up, and then I'm gonna go home.
It brings people together, which is the point.
Together.
It's like for me, that's like and
it tears them apart.
And having a message is obviously like it should be a priority within the art. But when something is so unanimously loved, I mean, that's what's great about pop culture. And people have different opinions on, well, if it's something's popular, how good is it or whatnot. And I'm like, if it's bringing people together, and you're like, if you went to the movie with a group of friends and like the entire theater loved it, and you like felt that energy of the room,
right?
Like
that's why I love when there's a Tony Stark witty one-liner and the whole theater laughs. Like,
right.
Of course,
the people criticize the Marvel movies for always being so jokey, and it's like, geez, I think of me in high school. Like when I was a high school teenager growing up, hating that stuff of just like, it's got to be Nolan, it's got to be serious. Like I don't want, your one-liners take me out of the movie because it's like everything's got to be serious. And it's like, as I've grown up, I appreciate kind of the ease and the fun and the playfulness.
Well, and like, what are you here for? Like in my screening of Infinity War. Like, there was a guy in the back that just kept going, woo!
Yes, exactly. I want more woos when I go to the movies.
There are videos online of people audio recording audience reactions of Infinity War. They're kind of a blast. They have a little subtitle of like, this thing just happened. Like, this thing just happened. And the audience going like, or like, no! Or like, yeah! Like, people like losing their marbles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what this is about.
Yep.
This isn't high art, obviously. Obviously, it's here to make billions of dollars. Yeah. Obviously, it's a product. Yeah,
but they can still tell a message.
They can still have a message. They can still tell a decent story, and we're all still having fun by and large. Like, to me, it's like you've kind of in narratives you talk about suspension of disbelief, right? And like obviously in Marvel movies you have to suspend your disbelief. I want to extend an idea of like suspension of pretension, suspension of like, because like I'm a pretentious person, like. I'm an artsy bitch.
Right.
But, like, I'll go to a Marvel movie and I'll just have fun. I'll go to Star Wars and I'll just have fun because it's a parable. Right. Like, I'm not analyzing.
I'll go see
like
Green
it's the hero's
Room.
journey. Right. I'll watch Green Room and I'm like,
but
I really appreciated that shot. I thought that the meaning of this slow camera, like.
Borgman.
You have,
right.
You're watching Borgman, you're in a different mode.
Yes.
You know? Totally. You're watching The Skin I Live In and you're in a Moldovar mode. Yeah. Like. Yeah, I'm not in that mode when I'm at
You should be allowed to be a
Infinity War.
three-dimensional person that can think different ways and process things different ways and enjoy things different ways.
You can enjoy things on different levels.
Yep.
And it's easy to read that as saying like that it could seem like I'm saying The Skin I Live In is better or has more social capital than Infinity War, and that's not even what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm
saying that they're swimming in like different pools,
way
maybe.
Different.
Yeah,
it's just like they're mean. Their aims are different. Mm-hmm. They're shooting at different targets.
Well, that's why diversity is important, and diversity is also important in how we process information.
Yeah,
and in how we process art. So like that's why it's important to like read a book and go to the movies and use the computer. Like do everything. Don't do one thing because when you do the one thing, that's when it's not.
Echo
developed
chamber.
And you're that's when you become one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And like I am just snacking on the idea that little kids have Shuri to look up to as she's a black female scientist, no one questions it, no one doubts her.
Yeah.
She's just the best one to go to.
She's telling the smartest minds what's up.
What's up? And like
get with it, Vision.
And like she's kind of and also she's like
because
she has access to this insane technology. She's just like, you don't do that.
Yeah,
that's not
right.
what and they're
this
like,
is my normal.
Yeah, we're like, we don't have this. Like this doesn't exist to us.
Yeah.
And it's just like the fact that people growing up like have that model to look up to now. I think that is so important in that we're in an era now where. Say what you will about what's happening in the world, but like these things are happening in cinema. Like these mainstream movies have this representation. We're getting better about it. Mm-hmm. Like that's huge and so important.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get better.
Slow process, but it's going.
Molasses.
Yeah.
But we're getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually think it's kind of crazy that like in the original Avengers, that they're all white.
Oh yeah.
One green guy.
Yikes.
Yeah. The
We'll let that
severely
slide.
underrepresented
We'll let that
green.
slide. But it's one woman and they're all white.
Right.
And which is a very classic.
And that's only 10 years ago.
That's a very like 60s comic book
Or however
thing.
many years ago.
I mean, there's also, which will be no, it's less than 10. Iron Maiden was like 10 years ago because they just celebrated their 10 year.
Yeah.
12, I believe, was Avengers.
Sure.
But I don't remember where I was going with this, but
no, but it's I mean, just within the MCU, we've come a long way.
yeah,
It's like it's a social barometer of the progress of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And like, we've come from that to having much better representation. Like, if you the poster of Infinity War is like, it ticks like a lot of the boxes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we don't really have any trans or openly gay characters in the films.
I was
like,
hoping
out and proud kind of style, but
DC in their like opening like title sequence does have Midnighter in it, who's a gay character in their world, and I was like, are we gonna get a Midnighter? I mean, but they have like a bajillion other characters.
Does
so probably
Runaways
not.
count?
I mean,
For
Runaways
that?
is it? Yeah, but it's TV. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
obviously,
a little
Runaways,
different.
Runaways has some great representation.
Runaways is great. I mean,
yeah.
Runaways has a lot of queer representation.
Yeah.
Runaways kind of bummed me out though because it's another one of those where it's like season 2 will be cool, I guess.
Season 1
But
was cool.
season 1 was fun. Yeah,
It was a little slow.
it was a
but-
little slow.
Yeah, I get
slow.
that.
But anyways,
But even, I mean, and this is too big of a topic to really.
we're kind of jumping into
kinda
this
short.
thing right at the end here.
But I mean, when you can, these characters are existing characters, but they were created in a time where it was more discrimination was happening.
Yeah.
So is it like, and that when Fox just released their last Fantastic Four movie, they switched Human Torch to be black,
yeah,
and there was a whole uproar over it.
right.
So is it okay to change gender? Or I mean, and at this point,
Yes.
it's like, of course it should be. but what do we care? Like,
Right.
there's plenty of like literally when you brought Avengers to the big screen, you still chose all white
Right.
males essentially and one white female.
Yeah.
Like Hawkeye could have been black and he would still have been a great character, and I still would have related to him. Like, it's okay, guys.
Right.
Sorry, that was a big
No, I mean, you're
big
not wrong.
ending.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I say smoke out the haters and the racists. Smoke them out. You know?
Tear gas.
Make a character a black woman that used to be a white man. They'll out themselves, and then
Oh
you
my
just
God.
go, okay, I can ignore you. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got into the heavy shit right at the end. Let's just move into the quote challenge.
Let's do it.
I have a couple.
I have a couple
I
as
got
well.
one.
All right. Who wants to go first? You want to go first? Guess? Make you go first?
Yeah.
I'm guessing, or I'm saying.
You say one, and then we'll guess it.
So my first one is. Well, I'll just say it and see what you guys say.
Yeah.
You were a god among insects.
Oh. And we're sticking in Marvel?
Yes, but not
You were
not,
a
not the
god-
MCU.
I feel like I've heard
You've heard it. I know you've heard
Magneto
it.
says it?
Yes.
X2.
Yes.
X2.
Yes.
Nice.
I love that scene.
That
X2.
X2 is good.
That scene is so. It's the scene where they're. It's him, Mystique, and the Jet, and Pyro's in there, and Pyro comments on how his helmet looks goofy, and then Magneto has this great scene. He's like, what's your name? He's like, my name's John. He's like, no, what's your real name?
yeah.
And he's like, Pyro, and he's like, I can only I can't create fire, but I can control it if it's there. And then Magneto says, you're a god among insects, and don't let anyone ever tell you different.
Yeah.
Such a great line. I love it.
And Pyro goes off the deep end.
I know.
Yeah,
and
Pyro
Pyro joins Magneto because he said that line so well.
Yeah.
It was so.
All right, so I'll go since we have multiples. You can go third. Mine are pretty easy. This one is, I have been falling for 30 minutes.
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I love
Who says that?
Loki when he
Oh,
when he
yeah,
drops
yeah,
him into the Doctor Strange. Like I was like, oh right. And he's just he lands on the ground. And he's just like, I have been falling for 30 minutes. God, that movie's so good. Anyway,
That's funny.
What's yours?
Doctor Strange is so good.
I like Doctor Strange as a character. I like the movie.
Infinity War
In
too.
Infinity War, he's great.
They use his powers really well.
Oh, baby.
Oh yeah.
Real well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, watch the spoiler mode if you haven't seen it because we talk all about that.
I didn't go MCU.
It's fine.
Is it comic related? No. Okay.
I didn't tell him that part.
Is it Agents of
Usually
S.H.I.E.L.D.?
it's just anything.
It's not. I wish it was
If
Shield.
it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
I wish it
we don't
was.
know.
Can you
it.
quote Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now and just...
I could. All right, here we go. Why do my eyes hurt? Because you've never used them before.
I know it.
You know it.
I know it.
It's a softball.
Yeah.
It's one of the greats.
I don't think I know it.
You will know it.
You probably
Ian
will
says
know
it.
Another quote from this movie. I know kung fu.
Oh.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Of the real.
I still know what we're talking about.
Follow
Matrix.
the White Rabbit.
Oh my god, I haven't watched that in forever.
Yeah.
It's time to rewatch
It's
it.
great.
Matrix
yeah.
1.
Yep. Just
Holds
one.
up.
Standalone.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Standalone
film.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love the Wachowskis, but damn.
Standalone
Some of their
film.
stuff not as good
That's
as others.
hysterical.
Matrix 1 is straight up
No,
standalone.
for sure. It's a
Don't
film.
let anyone
Oh,
tell
yeah,
you
yeah.
otherwise.
I actually don't hate the
both
other
did
two.
I don't hate them.
But again, it's not like Matrix 1 was actually like eye-opening and revolutionary
Yeah,
and
yeah.
commentary, and then the rest just became like a sci-fi.
Like the other two
whatever.
are bad, but they're like kind of fun. I don't know.
But they're no, it's like sci-fi. It's just like
Yeah.
Three.
It's like an anime movie. What's your next quote?
okay.
How many do you have?
I have 3.
Okay.
Um,
So I'll do one and then you can
nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
I know this.
Oh, it's Guardians.
Drax, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
love
kind of
Drax.
spoiled it
Drax
by
is so funny.
gushing on him. the
Oh,
entire
no,
podcast.
it's funny. This one is pretty easy too. I was just looking at porn.
Is that you or the quote?
That's the quote.
Oh, okay.
I gave up porn. It rewrites your neurons.
I know this. I know this.
I don't. I'm gonna be bad at this game.
I know it.
I thought this would be easy.
It's like Spider-Man, maybe?
Homecoming.
That's what I thought.
It's his friend when
Okay, I was doubting
the
myself.
teacher comes into the computer lab and she's like,
yeah.
"What are you doing in here during a
Yes.
dance?" And he just goes, "Oh, I was looking
I only
at
saw that movie once.
porn." We saw it together.
It's
That's
so
the last time I saw it.
We went to a because a friend of ours works at Marvel.
Yeah. We went to a cast and crew screening.
We went to a cast and crew screening. It was an experience.
Yeah, what was funny is I went to the one for, I've been to many of them, but I went to the Thor Ragnarok one, but it was on Game 7 of the World Series where the Dodgers were in it, and we're in Los Angeles, so, like, no one there. The Black Panther one
Great.
was insane, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people dressed up for it. It was, like, and at these...
Dressed up in costumes or like fancy?
and, like, African garb.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it was great. But it, like, typically that doesn't happen at any of the movies.
That's cool, though.
That's rad. What's your last one?
My last one's not even, it's obvious, but it's We Are Groot.
Oh, yeah.
Because we are Groot.
Yeah.
It's a great moment.
Groot.
It-
Love
that
my
is-
Guardians.
I've told the story a billion
Groot.
times, but like there are only like a few pieces of media that have ever made me cry, and Guardians was one of them.
At the We Are Groot.
That
So
got me
many
a little
moments.
bit. It kind of punched me in the dead mom button pretty hard,
Okay.
which I was not expecting.
Okay.
That and then San Junipero punched me in a very specific other button
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, it's like if things, I have a very specific vulnerability,
God.
and if things,
And if
hit
you
it-
crack it, it's just gonna.
the waterworks. Niagara Falls, Frankie Angel. Niagara Falls.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I saw I Love Dogs, and I saw I Am Legend right after like my childhood dog died.
Oh boy.
And I literally was like sobbing in the theater as if like my childhood dog had just died.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
like I'm also like, because I like never cry, when I do cry,
Oh, yeah.
it is like
It happens.
gross and disgusting, and like I should be at home alone.
Yeah, I almost never cry. And yeah, so when
And so
it
when you
happens-
do, you're like, oh my god.
I tear up on every couple Shield episodes.
Oh, yeah.
so-
Well, that's
you may have
expected
teared
from
up
you.
during this episode.
Yeah,
thinking about
I
Shield.
yeah, I think you were crying when you're like, I just really like Phil Coulson's great.
Yeah.
He's gonna be in Captain Marvel. Life is good again.
And Melinda May, dude. It's all Quake.
I don't even know who that is.
Fitzsimmons. So many good characters.
I want you to do a re-edit of Shield where it's like all the good bits
That'd
for
be
me.
awesome. Dude,
Like
Bill
or just like
Paxton
say
is in
that
season 1.
Bill Paxton?
I don't know if that's a compliment.
I
though.
like Bill Paxton.
Look how.
Don't
Okay.
speak ill of the dead.
Sorry.
Bill Paxton.
He's not dead, is he?
Bill Paxton is dead.
Oh, that's right. He did die. He did die. I forgot about
We're
that.
not talking about Bill Pullman.
No.
Bill Pullman's still
Bill
alive.
Pullman's alive. I do love Twister. I will
Love
give him credit for
Twister.
Twister.
We're going in.
Cow.
The same cow.
Same cow. Philip Seymour Hoffman, R.I.P. as
Also
well.
dead.
But he's great in that movie too.
Twister curse.
Twister curse. Well, Helen Hunt's still around, which we want her to be.
Yeah.
Love Helen Hunt.
Stay safe, Helen.
Yeah.
Love
Anyway. What is this episode?
I don't know what's
What
going
is
on.
this?
Helen Hunt's gonna
Sorry.
tweet us.
Yeah, Helen, please stay safe. Anywho, this has been Reaction Shots.
Woo!
It's been marvelous.
Marvelous.
Ooh, waiting for that one.
I mean, it'll probably be the name of the episode. Anyway, thank you, Michael Huber.
No doubt.
Thank you, Drew Kraft. If you're ever in Santa Monica the first Saturday of the month, head on by West Side Comedy Theater.
Yes, please.
Check out Ugly Stepchildren. $5, right?
Yeah.
Generally,
Yeah.
11:30.
11:30 every Saturday. I think
Yeah.
there's a promo code for a little while for 2-for-1s. Just using the code word Ugly Step.
Yeah. Every
Creative,
step I
right?
take.
Every step you take, every children you make.
Oh no! Every child you make would have probably been.
Well, it's Ugly Stepchildren, so it's
Yeah.
like
All right.
tied into
fine,
that.
Fine. Sure. Anyway, if you're ever in the area, check Drew out.
Please do.
And his gaggle of ugly
A
stepchildren.
gaggle of ugly stepchildren.
They're beautiful.
They're beautiful, beautiful people.
Anyway, thank you very much. Have a good time. We'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.